let's use domestic violence as an example. And it's not just a failure of feminism, it's a failure of our culture. A battered woman huddled in a dark corner who's obviously been savaged by a man is a much more attractive fundraising item in this culture. A picture of a guy that's beat up might be a comedy gag. It might be something that people laugh at. We frequently do. The money is in female victims because our culture is exactly the opposite of what feminists have always claimed it is. It is a culture that values the problems of women, that is concerned with them, that wants to send people in to rescue women when they're victims and when they're having problems. So feminists have taken that very concept and they've created an industry that only recognizes the money-making victims. And it may even seem extreme to couch things in these terms, but that's what I believe has really happened. There's not a lot of empathy for a guy that gets beat up. I hear from men every day who have been victims of domestic violence in their relationships. We have writers at A Voice for Men who have a history of either being abused by their mothers or by spouses. It goes on all the time. When they went to seek help, they were either arrested as the perpetrator or laughed at by police. They found that there was no social services really designed for them. There may have been some crisis counselor willing to talk for them and tell them, yeah, that's really rough, but we don't have much else for you. The reason that feminists have succeeded so wildly at perpetuating this myth that only women are victims is because that's what our culture wants to hear. We want to hear about women that are abused and harmed so that we can create resources to go in and save them. We're generally not interested in the struggles of men. And I absolutely oppose what feminists have done with legislation like VAWA, with the Violence Against Women Act, how it's written, the way it's couched in gender-specific terms throughout the legislation for how the money is distributed. I disagree with what feminist groups did here in California, which was, I think it was the National Organization for Men Against Sexism, which is a group of feminist men that filed an amicus brief when California was being sued to start providing services for male victims of domestic violence. NOMA stepped in with lawyers and other people stepped in and prevented a successful conclusion to that lawsuit because they were concerned that giving resources and services to men would take resources and services away from women, as though it were all a zero-sum game and that if one won, the other lost. The problem for me goes back to cultural misandry. It is an understanding that we don't value the pain of men. We don't want to see it. We don't want to hear about it. We're embarrassed by it. People are uncomfortable with this sort of thing. And so it's not much of a moneymaker. And I think feminists have recognized that, and they have played their hand well at creating an industry that only recognizes female victims. It's because this is what our culture has handed them on a silver platter.